Hello, welcome to the course PH5BO6 Electrodynamics 2. The contents of this course is taken from Introduction to Electrodynamics by David J. Griffiths. In today's class, we will continue to discuss topics from Chapter 9, Electromagnetic Waves. In the last couple of classes, we discussed about wave motion, in particular one-dimensional wave motion. So we have seen that if anything is waving, the function which describes the wave motion, we can call it as the wave function. It should satisfy the wave equation given by del square f is equal to 1 over v square dou square f by dou t square, where v is the velocity of the wave motion. In the case of one-dimensional wave, instead of the Laplacian operator, you will have dou square f by dou x square on the left-hand side. Now, let's talk specifically about electromagnetic wave. So, let's make a claim that an electromagnetic field can behave as a wave. The claim looks lofty, but we need to validate this claim. How do we validate this? Just show that the components of the electromagnetic field, which is the electric field and magnetic field, these two satisfy the wave equation. For simplicity, let's consider electromagnetic waves in vacuum. So the starting point, as always, is the Maxwell's equation. So these are the Maxwell's equation in free space. Hope you remember this. Divergence of E equal to 0, divergence of B equal to 0, curl of E equal to minus dou B by dou T, curl of B equal to mu naught epsilon dou E by dou T. Let's take curl of last two equation. Hope you remember the triple product A cross B cross C equal to B into A dot C minus C into A dot B. This is given in chapter 1 of Griffiths. Apply curl to the third equation. It becomes curl of E equal to, expand this using the product rule, del into del dot E minus del square E. Curl of E is also equal to minus dou B by dou T. So you can write the RHS as del cross minus dou B by dou T. You can interchange these two derivatives and write minus dou by dou T curl of B. But curl of B from the fourth equation, this is mu naught epsilon naught dou E by dou T. So the right hand side becomes minus mu naught epsilon naught dou square E by dou T square. The same procedure you repeat for fourth equation. Apply curl, you get curl of B, which is equal to del into del dot B minus del square B equal to minus mu naught epsilon naught dou square B by dou T square. If you consider the first two equations, you see divergence of E equal to 0, divergence of B equal to 0. So you can disregard these two terms on the left hand side. So the equation gets simplified. The first curl equation becomes del square E equal to mu naught epsilon naught dou square E by dou T square. The second equation becomes del square B equal to mu naught epsilon naught dou square B by dou T square. If you compare this with the standard wave equation, you can see that it looks exactly like a wave equation in form, and in place of 1 over v square you have a term mu naught epsilon naught. So you can define the velocity of the electromagnetic wave as 1 over square root of mu naught epsilon naught, which is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So velocity, the speed of light in vacuum is a constant given by this value. This is also known as a constant C. If you remember your mechanics course, this is the only parameter which is invariant when you move from one inertial frame to another inertial frame. So we have shown that an electromagnetic field can exist as an electromagnetic wave. I hope at least now you appreciate the importance of Maxwell's contribution. Had Maxwell not made the correction to Ampere's law, then this electromagnetic wave concept would not have been possible. That's exactly the reason why, even though these four equations are different, given by different people during different periods in time, they assume their completeness only after Maxwell made this contribution. That's why we call them together as Maxwell's equation. Going back to the complex notation of a traveling wave, if you take a wave traveling in the plus z direction, in the complex notation I can write it as f complex z comma t equal to a complex e to the power I kz minus omega t, where a complex is the complex amplitude. The omega is the angular frequency, which is related to the linear frequency through the relation 2 pi into linear frequency is the angular frequency. If you take the visible spectrum of light, each frequency corresponds to a particular color. For example, 6.5 into 10 to the power 14 Hertz corresponds to blue color. Similarly, 4.9 into 10 to the power 14 corresponds to orange color. So in this notation, this wave corresponds to a single frequency. In other words, this wave corresponds to a single color. That's why we call such a wave as a monochromatic wave. I want to bring your attention to the visible spectrum of light. So there are 7 colors: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. So you can specify this either in terms of frequency or in terms of the wavelength. The frequency and wavelength are interrelated through the relation frequency nu equal to the velocity of light c divided by wavelength lambda. Look at the magnitudes involved here. So the blue light is around 7.5 into 10 to the power 14 Hertz, or you can write it as 750 into 10 to the power 12 Hertz. 10 to the power 12 is known as tera, so this is around 750 terahertz. And all the way to the longest visible red, this is around 390 terahertz, so you can roughly call it as 400 terahertz. Look at the wavelengths involved here. The blue light is around 4 into 10 to the power minus 7 meter, or you can call it as 400 into 10 to the power minus 9 meter. 10 to the power minus 9 meter is 1 nanometer. So this is around 400 nanometer, all the way to 760 or roughly 750 nanometer. So the visible spectrum of light ranges from 400 nanometer to 750 nanometer, or alternatively 400 terahertz to 750 terahertz. Okay. The frequency of light is also related to the energy of photon. From the quantum theory of light, frequency of light is related to energy through the relation E equal to h nu, where h is the Planck constant. So when frequency increases, energy also increases. So you can also define the visible spectrum in terms of energy. So if you substitute for the values in the equation, you will find that a blue light of frequency 650 terahertz corresponds to around 3 electron volt. Similarly, the green light with frequency 560 terahertz corresponds to around 2.3 electron volt. So 3 ways you can specify the electromagnetic spectrum, either in terms of wavelength, or in terms of frequency, or in terms of energy. So this is about visible spectrum. Let's look at the complete spectrum. So on top of visible light, you have more energetic radiation known as ultraviolet radiation. Above that you have X-ray radiation, then the most energetic type of radiation, which is the gamma radiation. Similarly, below the visible spectrum you have less energetic infrared radiation, then microwave radiation, then the least energetic radio waves. So this is the complete electromagnetic spectrum: radio waves, microwaves, infrared rays, visible light, ultraviolet rays, X-rays and gamma rays. So remember this, you will encounter this very frequently in optics and also in spectroscopy. Now, if you also recollect our discussion in the last class, we said that we were talking about transverse wave, where the oscillation is perpendicular to the wave propagation direction. So if I take Z as the propagation direction, then oscillation happens either in X or Y direction. So looking at this diagram, wave is traveling in the plus Z direction with velocity v. At each point, the electric field and the magnetic field, they oscillate either in the XY direction, or I can say the fields are confined to the XY plane. So every point, the fields are confined to a single plane. That's why we call such a wave as a plane wave. The speciality of the electromagnetic wave is that the fields are uniform across the XY plane. In other words, the fields do not change as a function of X or Y. The only variation happens as a function of Z. So borrowing the complex notation into the electromagnetic waves, you can write E complex Z equal to E naught complex e to the power I kz minus omega t, where E naught complex is the complex amplitude of the electric field. Same way, B complex Z equal to B naught complex e to the power I kz minus omega t. And the frequency omega is related to the propagation constant k through the relation omega equal to c into k, where c is the speed of light in vacuum. So we have seen that the electromagnetic wave equation is a consequence of Maxwell's equation in free space. The Maxwell's equation also imposes some more extra constraints on E naught and B naught. Let's see what are these. Take the first two Maxwell's equation, divergence of E equal to 0 and divergence of B equal to 0. For now, let's stick our discussion to the electric field only. So complex electric field E, this is also a vector, so I can write it in the complement form. This is Ex complex x cap plus Ey complex y cap plus Ez complex z cap, and each of these components I can write using the complex notation as Ex complex equal to E naught x complex e to the power I kz minus omega t, where E naught x is the real amplitude and this gives the complex amplitude. So I have these three component form. Since the waves I am talking about are plane waves with a single frequency, in other words, we are talking about monochromatic plane waves. Remember, now onwards, whenever I mention electromagnetic waves, what I mean is monochromatic plane waves, which I have discussed just before. These monochromatic plane waves have fields perpendicular to the propagation direction, and I said they do not vary in the x or y direction. So when you take the divergence, the dou by dou x and dou by dou y terms straight away go to 0, because the field is uniform along the xy plane. So I need to bother only about the z dependence. So I can write dou Ez complex by dou z equal to 0. From the expression for Ez, I can expand this and write the derivative becomes E naught complex z into Ik into e to the power I kz minus omega t equal to 0. Exponential term cannot become 0, k is a constant, this also cannot become 0, so the only possibility is the complex amplitude E naught z complex equal to 0. Same way, if you take divergence of B equal to 0, you will get the complex amplitude B naught z equal to 0. Now, what's the physical meaning of this? When you have an electromagnetic wave traveling along the z direction, both electric field and magnetic field do not have components along the z direction, or Only components of electric field and magnetic field are perpendicular to the propagation direction. In other words, electromagnetic wave is transverse. You may think that this is an obvious result. I just want to emphasize the fact that the transverse nature of the electromagnetic wave is a consequence of Maxwell's equation. Moving on to the second aspect of electromagnetic wave. Take the Maxwell's equation, curl of E equal to minus dou B by dou T. Now, the left hand side you can expand in terms of a determinant form. So you have x cap, y cap, z cap, dou by dou x, dou by dou y, dou by dou z, ex complex, ey complex, ez complex. Then expand this in the form of determinant. As I have discussed earlier, the fields do not change in the x or y direction. So derivative with respect to x and y, straight away you can equate to 0. Now on the right hand side I have minus dou b by dou t. Expand this in the components form. It becomes minus dou bx complex by dou t x cap minus dou by complex by dou t y cap minus dou bz complex by dou t z cap. So you have vectors on either side, equate the components. Since the z component is completely 0 on the left hand side, you don't have to bother about that. You need to equate only the x and y components. Okay, so equating the x components on either side gives you minus E naught complex y. You need to take the derivative with respect to z, which gives you ik into e to the power ikz minus omega t. Equal to, on the right hand side you need to take derivative with respect to t. So this is minus b naught x complex into the derivative minus I omega into e to the power I kz minus omega t. Similarly, for the y component, on the left hand side I have dou ex complex by dou z. Expand that, you get this term here. Similarly, on the right hand side I have minus dou by complex by dou t, which is this term. Okay. So I have some common terms here. The I term is common on either side, exponential term is common, so you cancel all the common terms. The first equation gets simplified as minus k E naught y complex equal to omega B naught x complex. Similarly, the second equation gets simplified as k E naught x complex equal to omega B naught y complex. So, what is the physical meaning? If the wave is traveling along the z direction and if the electric field is along the x direction, then the magnetic field is along the y direction. Similarly, if the electric field is along the minus y direction, the magnetic field is along the x direction. In other words, there is a perpendicular relation between the electric field and magnetic field. The perpendicular relation can always be represented in terms of a cross product. So this relation I can generalize and write B naught complex equal to k by omega into z cap cross E naught complex, where z cap gives you the propagation direction. In other words, the electric field and magnetic field are mutually perpendicular. So from the first two Maxwell's equations, we have seen that electric field and magnetic field are perpendicular to the propagation direction. From the third Maxwell's equation, we find that they are also mutually perpendicular. So if you look at this schematic, this gives you the direction of propagation, and the electric field and magnetic field represented by the red and blue lines. These two are always perpendicular to each other. Now all these relations we have derived in terms of the complex amplitude. So whatever is true for complex notation is true for the real notation as well. So let's rewrite this relation in terms of the real amplitude. So we can write B naught equal to k over omega multiplied by E naught. Let's expand these terms. Propagation constant k equal to 2 pi by lambda. Similarly, angular frequency omega equal to 2 pi into linear frequency nu. Nu you can write it as velocity c divided by lambda. So you have some common terms. When you cancel that, you get b naught equal to 1 over c E naught. This is a very important result. You know the value of c. This is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second, which is a very high value. So you are dividing the electric field strength with such a high value. Consequently, the strength of magnetic field is very low compared to electric field. That's the reason why whenever we talk about any of the characteristics of light waves or any of the processes involving light waves, we always discuss in terms of electric field and not the magnetic field. For example, when you talk about polarization of light, you discuss in terms of direction of electric field. Similarly, when you talk about intensity of light, you specify it in terms of strength of the electric field. When you talk about absorption of light, you specify in terms of attenuation of the electric field. Finally, when you talk about processes like reflection and transmission, all the equations are written in terms of the electric field, because the magnetic field is very weak, which makes it very difficult to measure experimentally. So this gives a complete picture of the electromagnetic wave. So now we know that if the wave is traveling in the plus z direction, then you can say the electric field points in the x direction, consequently the magnetic field points in the y direction. In other words, electric field, magnetic field and the propagation direction, these three constitute a right-hand system. So using the complex notation, now you can write for a wave traveling along the plus z direction, the electric field is given by E complex z equal to E naught complex e to the power I kz minus omega t x cap. Similarly, the magnetic field is given by 1 over c E naught, this is the amplitude, into e to the power I kz minus omega t y cap. Alternatively, you can write all this relation in terms of the real amplitude, because this is the true amplitude. So the real amplitude E of z equal to E naught cos kz minus omega t plus delta x cap. Similarly, the real magnetic field Bz equal to 1 over c E naught cos kz minus omega t plus delta y cap. So this is for a wave traveling in the plus direction. In general, for a monochromatic plane wave traveling in an arbitrary direction given by the vector r, you can generalize the expressions and write E complex r comma t equal to E naught complex e to the power I k dot r minus omega t n cap. Here, n cap gives the direction of the electric field. There is another name for it. This is the polarization vector. Now k is no more a constant. This is a vector. Since k gives the direction of propagation, this is known as the propagation vector. So once you define electric field in terms of a polarization vector, you can define magnetic field as 1 over c E naught complex e to the power I k dot r minus omega t k cap cross n cap. Since this term is the electric field, you can write it as 1 over c k cap cross E complex, where n dot k equal to 0 because the wave is a transverse wave. So this is the fundamental geometry of electromagnetic wave. You need to remember this because we will use this extensively throughout this course. This information is also important in your optics course and also other courses like spectroscopy and solid state physics. So in summary, electromagnetic radiation or electromagnetic waves consist of an electric field and a magnetic field which are mutually perpendicular and are also perpendicular to the propagation direction. In the next class, we will talk about energy stored in an electromagnetic wave. Thank you.